everyone, and welcome to another episode of Smart People Travel Wise, a platform where we talk all things about travel. I'm your host, Tennie Sumague, coming to you from my home in New York City. And it's another beautiful Tuesday, a new month, September, which is a great time to travel because it's shoulder season. And that's when airfare is on sale, and it's the best time to travel. Why? Is because, the kids are back in school and anyone could have a city or a country, a place, anywhere where they travel, less crowds, probably more time to love, whatever destination you're coming into. But my guest today and I are going to discuss a country that is the only continent in the world, which is Australia. Great things to talk about the land down under, from food, destinations, the people. And I'm going to introduce you to my guest host who specializes in Australia as a travel advisor. But before I introduce him to our podcast, I like to remind everybody, if you are watching this live, please hashtag live. If you are watching this on replay, hashtag replay. Make sure you're telling us where you're coming from so that we can acknowledge all of you. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and YouTube. You could also listen on Amazon Fire, Spotify, and iHeartRadio, or simply download the PHLV radio app available on all iOS and Android phones. So my guest just graduated, finished his MBA, a very great accomplishment because, going to school is very difficult nowadays, a lot of studying. And he's an up-and-coming travel advisor, just like myself, and is specializing in Australia. Why? Because he loves the country and the continent, and so do I. One of the best places that everyone and anyone should travel is Australia once in their lifetime. And we're going to discuss all things about the land down under, or the land that's also known as Oz, as he's preparing his trip to go to Sydney in just a couple of days from now. And of course, it's shoulder season, which is springtime in Australia at this time, which is a lovely time to go. So without further ado, please smash those heart buttons as I welcome Louis Santos to our podcast. Hey, Louis.
Hi.
Hello, my fellow travel advisor, and I want to ask you.
Well, you said September 1st. Today's September 1st, right? In the Philippines, when it's September 1st, when you go to the mall in the Philippines, you always hear the music of Jose Marichan.
Please be careful Christmas with my heart.
Christmas in our hearts. Whenever I see boys and girls selling lanterns on the street, that's a song it's like the national anthem in the Philippines during Christmas, and you hear that starting in September 1st. So that's exciting. That's I miss that. I miss that thing.
And I wonder what music you're gonna hear when you arrive in Australia in a couple of days.
I don't know. I want to know.
I come from the land down under.
Oh, really?
That's one of the popular
that is crazy.
songs. I forgot what band that sings that. And then there's I'm really big with 90s rock, Midnight
Really?
Oil. And then of course I have to bring this up because she recently passed away, Olivia Newton-John.
Wow.
Summer loving happens so fast.
Right.
But I wanted to ask you before we get into our topic of talking about Australia is, how did you get into, let's get to know you a little bit more and have our audience get to know you more as a travel advisor, how you got into this industry in the first place.
I came to the US in 2015, right? But prior to that, I visited Hong Kong. And then in the Philippines, I traveled Cebu City, Davao, Bohol. So I travel Not really a lot, but I don't consider myself as like a traveler. So when I had a chance to, you know, in the United States, we travel a lot of states. So when I saw Alvin's advertising about, future travelers or future travel advisors, that's how I got into the business. I haven't started yet. I'm still learning. I'm gonna say I'm still learning the craft, and I'm still learning my niche. And I'm excited to be, I'm excited to be like a full blown travel advisor.
And it's funny because I have that same goal too. I just recently, I started this back in January.
Yeah.
I've been an avid traveler, but it's just a whole different ball game when you actually do this in the business. And what's great about the business too is like when you meet, leaders who've been in it and they're so passionate about it, which is it gets so addicting. And even going to these travel shows, and I just came back from a convention out in San Francisco, the
Yeah.
ASCA and
Oh
American
wow.
Travel Advisors, and that was an amazing event, which I think Louis, you should go because it's next year. It's in Puerto Rico.
Oh wow.
But it's amazing what you can learn from people in the industry, whether you're starting out or and meeting people who've been doing this for a longevity of time. And that's what's great about a business is that you have to be passionate about it, and
Right.
and when you're passionate about it, you do whatever it takes to
Correct.
to strive, which is what, and in any kind of business, that's how it should be. And also the
Right.
challenges, especially with travel. And so what do you like about what you like so far as a travel advisor? What do you like so far about the industry? I mean, we know we like the perks,
Right.
but there's
Well,
more to it than the perks.
well, traveling. I mean, even if I'm not a travel advisor, I still want to travel. I still want to experience the culture, the behavior, the language, the food of a certain community. If yeah, I'm in Baltimore right now, so I want to visit. I want to visit. We just visited Mystic, Connecticut, and I love the state, and we want to visit. Probably some states like Kentucky, Mississippi. I haven't visited those places. Massachusetts, Maine. So, even if you're not traveling, even if you're not a travel advisor, you still travel. So when you're a travel advisor, so you just travel more and you share these information, these experiences to other people, and you help them plan their travel because you've experienced these places, firsthand. So that's what I like about traveling and being a travel advisor.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And it's good that you mentioned places that I still want to see. Well, I've been to Massachusetts so many times because it's close by. I mean, I went to Boston during the NBA finals, and
Right.
that was an unforgotten experience I'll never forget. Especially for a New Yorker who shouldn't like Boston teams.
Oh wow. Okay.
But it's funny you mentioned about Kentucky and Mississippi because those I actually want to visit those states. Kentucky for the Derby,
Mhm.
Mississippi because of its the history of like the Deep South, and there's just so much that when you learn as a travel advisor,
Yeah.
you're correct. You go to places to travel and then you share
Yeah.
those experiences with your clients. And I'm gonna lead this to which is your specialty, which is Australia. And that's one country slash continent that I
Okay. Correct.
remember when I went to Sydney back in 2001, and I have family there. I think I saw how it was like amazing,
Yeah.
and I was really fascinated with how polite Australians are in comparison to
Wow.
Americans. But what attracted you to, first of all, what attracted you to Australia? Huh?
So there's a ranking of happiest countries in the world. So I checked that list, and then I was looking for a warm country. So New Zealand was there, Australia was there. So my first option was actually New Zealand, but I don't have a cousin there. I got a cousin in Australia, so that's why I chose Australia. So in terms of longevity, in terms of jobs, in terms of liberty, in terms of acceptance, in terms of jobs, that's how they rank these countries in that list of happiest countries. So that's why I came up with having Australia as a niche, because I like to visit the country. I think it's number 11. It's 11th in the ranking, and the US is only like 16th, and the Philippines is like the 30th or the 60th. I'm not sure. So that's the reason why I chose Australia as a niche, because of the ranking, because of the happiest countries thing.
So educate us a little bit about Australia, and they're like here in the United States, we have states, right? There's 50 states. In Canada, there's 13, I forgot, 11, 12, 13 provinces. So what do they call their
they're called territories.
Territories. And tell me what you know so far. How many territories are there in Australia?
I don't know, maybe 5. We have the Northern Territory. They got the ASW, the Eastern, and then they have the South, and then they have the
Western Australia.
5. Yeah, maybe 5 or 6.
And then there's Victoria, and then there's NSW in Queensland. NSW is where Sydney is, and that's where you're going in a couple of days.
Yes.
Sydney is actually where I went back in 2001. And I remember at that time I was saying like, if I wanted to, and this is when I just really started traveling, and I made it a point of like, if I have kids, I would name them after cities. So I know Sydney is one of them. If I had a child, I would actually name it Sydney. I think it's Sydney. And then I also said Roma, which is Italian name for Rome.
Tasmania.
Tasmania. Or Tasmania. And call her Daddy. Or Victoria. But I did say I wanted to name my child Sydney because it's just because of the city itself. And some factoids about Sydney too, as if you're sports fans, that's where they host the 2000 Olympics, which was held around this time, which is September, which is, it's fall for us, but in Australia, it's springtime. And it's a great time to go. But we'll talk about Sydney. And what are you looking forward to when you go to Sydney?
I want to go to their beaches, their wildlife, their nature, their they have a lot of places there that you'd like to visit. I got a list here. I want to go to the Circular Quay or Quay, Sydney Opera House.
But I don't. Yeah, it's Quay. But I don't know. They say something if the and I guess it depends on their. I mean, I think Australian English is different from
right.
American English and British English. Well, I don't know Key or K or something, but yes.
Okay. Botanical Gardens, The Rock, Sydney Light Rail, Bridge Climb, Bondi Beach, Taronga Zoo. They have a lot of beaches there. They also have a lot of nude beaches. So I'm excited to visit those places. I'm going to be there for a week, so I hope I have a lot of time to visit those nude beaches.
That's a week. And, as a traveler, and of course, as travel advisors, you kind of have to set up itineraries.
Yes.
For clients. So what's your itinerary? Let me ask you this. What is the first thing that you want to do once you step down in Sydney? Because I remember the first thing I wanted to do when I touched down to Sydney was see the Opera House, because I have a music degree and I was a voice major. And that's one of the most, popular sites to see, or
destination.
architectural design to
Gotcha.
see in the world was the Sydney Opera House. So that was
Gotcha.
my goal. So what is the first thing you want to see in
Maybe the same thing because when I was a kid, like I told you earlier, right? I got a cousin there. When I was a kid, we had that thing. It's like a wall picture, a wall, something like that, with the opera house thing. So when I was a kid, I didn't know that it's called opera house. I didn't know it's from Australia, but I know these places because I have that. We have it in our wall when I was a kid. So maybe that one too. I want to visit that place too. And of course, I want to visit their beaches. I think their beaches are very, it's not the same as the beaches in the Philippines because it's kind of greener and it's wider. So
Yeah, that's the one thing I didn't get a chance to do when I went there was to go to
beach.
the beaches, Bondi Beach, Manly Beach, and I know they say the beach is like Australia is also, they're known as a swimming nation.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
Swimmers there, which is swimmers are actually as popular as like NBA players in America,
Mhm.
and but boxing is to the Philippines. Manny Pacquiao, like a lot of Australian swimmers are superstars in their own right. And
Right.
I hear so many great things about Bondi Beach, and I think that's what's a cool thing about Sydney. That's it's a cosmopolitan city where it has city life and beach life all in one.
Wow. Okay. I'm excited then. I'm excited.
Yeah. And I think one of the things I've also adapted to is, I'm from New York. And,
Uh-huh.
if you've been to New York City, everyone's like hustle and bustle, beep, 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 beep.
Correct. Yeah.
They're,
Everybody's like, you got a
impatient.
schedule, like
Yeah,
9
exactly.
to 1 a.m.
One thing, here's some things that I learned when I was in Sydney. I really, and I'm a very loud person too, is that,
Uh-huh.
and, when you're in the city, you know, you have to kind of be like quiet.
Uh-huh.
Can't be loud, and if
Right.
you're loud, people are gonna look at you as like you're some kind of stranger. But I had this experience when I was actually with my sister and we were going on the bus to a suburb
Uh-huh.
of Sydney called, I think it was called Blacktown. That's where my cousins live.
Blocktown? I haven't
Blacktown,
heard of
yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah, but we're going on a bus from Sydney, and I remember somebody couldn't find their bus ticket.
Oh wow.
And there was a line there, like people waiting. And I remember saying, like, oh my God, where stupid lady can't find her ticket. And
Right.
that's kind of like the New York mentality. It's like, you don't know it, like look at the line. And I really want to be like, hurry up, hurry up. But it was so amazing that she apologized,
Right.
and all the Australians were just like, no worries, it's
Oh
okay.
really?
And I was just like, that was kind of like a culture shock. And I actually adopted the whole no worries thing
Okay.
since there, because when people apologize if they can't find something, I do say no worries. And I think that
Gotcha.
was something cool. Like when you go to a country, you kind of adapt something, their culture, and tie it to your own culture.
Right, right.
So that was the funny thing. Like, yeah, one of the funny things I've experienced there is how polite and
Gotcha.
patient they were in Sydney, and I couldn't, like, be my New York self there. I had to be on my best behavior.
If not, they're gonna pull your hair.
Or they might find me. Like Singapore too. I mean, Singapore. I remember going to Singapore, and if you have to be careful. Also, this was also another thing that I experienced in Australia because it's so clean. It's like I have to be careful not to litter because it's
Really?
habitual for me to litter in New York because everybody does it and nobody
Oh
gets
wow.
fined. But it's such a clean city. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's still clean. I haven't been there in over 20 years, but I'm
Right,
pretty sure it's still a clean city in itself. But yeah, you have to also be careful. Uh,
right,
kind of throw out your American mentality when you go to
right.
Australia.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, but more on Sydney, and one of the most exciting things you had mentioned, the zoo, right?
Right.
One of the things the coolest things about Australia are animals, the cutest things too.
Right. Based on the
Koalas.
yes, they have a lot of animals there. They have a lot of wildlife creatures there that we can't see in other countries. We don't have platypus. We don't have kangaroos in the US. We don't have a lot of animals that emos.
Emos, yes.
Emos. We don't have that. So they can only find those animals in Australia. So now one more thing. The how old is the Grand Canyon? Grand Canyon, how old is this? So there, what's that? Lumori? The orange thing, the orange stone. It's like the
Oh, Uluru. Yes, the
yeah.
outback. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, come on.
It's older
Mhm.
than our Grand Canyon in the US. It's older.
That's fascinating too.
Yeah.
That I didn't know that, and the Australia outback too. That's actually on my bucket list. I'd like to camp out
Yeah.
there. So I just have to make sure not to go there during their summer because it can be extremely hot. But I think it's also the Uluru or I don't know,
Yes.
or Ayers Rock.
Ayers Rock, correct.
That's what they call it. That's one of the most. I think that's a lot on people's bucket list, and also a popular landmark. I mean, come on, it's on the outback, and I'm talking about the steakhouse. Isn't that in their logo, right? But just to let viewers know, the Outback Steakhouse has nothing to do with like the Outback in itself, and even their cattle too is
Right.
very different. And we're gonna touch up on that because you mentioned animals. The different animals that you could specifically see, which is what makes Australia a popular destination, and going to the zoo. It's on people's bucket list to pet a koala.
Right.
You have to let me know how that experience goes, because I actually didn't have that experience. Instead, I didn't eat a koala. I actually had the privilege to eat kangaroo meat, which is a specialty on the menu of in Australia.
They say it's a pest. Kangaroos are like pests.
I guess so. I actually didn't know that. That
they're not pets. They're like they're like flies.
So maybe kangaroos to Australians is what pigeons are to us New Yorkers, because I hate pigeons.
Oh yeah,
like
they're not. They're for us foreigners. I mean, for us from the US, we think that kangaroos are cute, but for Australians, they're not. They're pests. So
that's interesting to know.
Mhm.
And I told you this. One of the things is, on your bucket list, you should, I mean, if you are a meat lover, you should definitely try kangaroo meat. And also one food experience, because food is life. Food is basically such a huge trend in travel that one of the reasons people want to travel internationally is to try the different cuisines. And what Australia, aside from kangaroo meat, is that one of the most popular food places that I've eaten to, where my cousin took me to, is called Cafe de Wheels, which has probably by far, I've never had meat pie so good anywhere in the world other than in Australia. And it's great because it has, it's the meat pie, it has the potatoes, and then it has, it has mashed, the peas are smashed on the top.
Okay.
I don't know if you like peas. At the time I didn't like peas, but it's so good.
If you compare it to like an American dish, what's its what's the counterpart of that food to the food in the United States?
I would say probably, well, it's meat pie. I mean, America has, the chicken pot pie.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Yes.
Yeah, it's pot pie, but it has meat on it. That's what it's known. And then, what pot pie has is, it has some vegetables, and then it's a little bit, has the gravy, like it's a little bit saucy, but theirs, it's like potatoes, and it's just, it's heavenly. And I haven't had a great meat pie anywhere else other than in
Gotcha.
Australia.
Okay.
And
Something to look forward to then.
are you looking forward to shopping?
Not really. You know, um, most likely we have a lot of, whatever they have there, like they have, whatever. So I mean, I'm not really into shopping. I'm more into like
Mhm.
experiences because my target market. So the name of my company is Watch Your Step, because my husband used to work for Amtrak, so they always say Watch Your Step, and then Watch Your Step, right? Watch Your Step. That's the name of my company. Watch Your Step Travels, because of him. And then our target market is the LGBT community. So we want to experience. We want to go to places wherein these type of customers can visit, and to be more to be free, to be to be delightful, to be accepted, to be. Now I partnered with this Australian folks. The name of the company is Husbands That Travel. They're advocating on safe spaces for LGBT travelers. So I partnered with them, and then they want to create more safe spaces for LGBT travelers, which is the same with my travel business. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's also another trending thing is what's up and coming is LGBTQ travels and what
Right.
traveling and what have from your research have you saw in what is trending in specifically in Australia for that specific community?
There's not a lot of. That's the reason why I like this niche, because there's not a lot of companies who cater to LGBT travelers. And this is a good niche because we these we have they have money. You can, if there's a lot of travel companies who cater to these type of customers, so that means you have more chance to you have a lot of chance to grow your business. That's why I chose this target, this segment, because there's not a lot of business who cater to these group of clients.
And other than in Sydney, is there any place in Australia that attracted you and your niche? Other places?
I think the Western, the WA, the Western Australia is a good place too. They have a place called Margaret River. They're famous with like wineries. They have a lot of. It's like when you go to Kansas, there's a lot of people. It's just very country. It's just very, it's just country. It's just nature. It's just relaxed. It's just stars at night. So that's what I like with Western Australia.
Any other territories that attracted you? We talked about Sydney. We talked about Western Australia.
Mhm.
What is this? Oh, Outback. I was like, what's
Yeah,
that? I was gonna about to say, what's that steakhouse? I think Australians will get offended if I say you're like, oh, Outback, the steakhouse. No. But I know, there's so many great places in the
I agree. Yeah,
country, the continent in itself, and that's what makes Australia so unique because it's a country
that
and a continent in itself.
that is
And
correct. I mean, if I'm gonna have like 3 months of traveling, if I have the luxury to travel like for 3 months and be away from work I wish, right?
that's a
I'm gonna
dream.
dream, right?
Well, there's also this thing now, Louis. There's remote work where
Right,
I saw that like whatever you do, and that's what's a good thing about travel is like you could even take
correct,
business remotely and go to the the country that you
correct.
specialize in.
Right, right. Just bring your business in a van or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they do. That's what the guys do. Husbands that travel, they're in a van, just traveling Australia, whenever, wherever. So they quit their jobs. One of them used to work for like a consulting company. The other one, he's like in a health industry, like a nurse or something. They've been traveling for less than 2 years. Of course, they don't have money, but what they do, Their income is coming from, for pet sitting, whatever, like doing some tours. That's how they get their money. I hope we'll be able to meet one of them when we go to Sydney, because one of them, the one one partner is in the UK right now, but the other guy, he's in Sydney right now. So I hope we meet them and take some pictures, because it's it's different when you see people like in person. You put you meet the person, and because we support them, so it's just fun. It's just something to look forward to when you meet them in person.
Now, if you mentioned about if take a dream to take 3 months,
Yeah.
if you had the 3 months, Louis, and you had the opportunity to go anywhere in Australia, like where would you start and where would you finish? I mean, well, let's say like not maybe 3 months, let's say even a month. What would you do within that time frame? What cities or what adventures would you do? Because I'll tell you mine after I hear yours.
Okay. Well, it's just a month. So it's not going to be enough. So I'm going to start with maybe Western Australia and travel. Like from west to north, and then north to east, and then south. That's what I do. 1 month, it's not enough. So I'm just gonna. I'm gonna. Of course, we know there's a lot of people in Sydney, and it's a common when a foreigner when a new traveler goes to Australia, it's always Sydney. That's the first place that you visit, right? Right. So I might just travel. If I have a month, I'm gonna just travel. I'm just travel Sydney, like the last part of my travel itinerary.
I think once everybody, I think anywhere, if you're traveling first time anywhere, the first thing people go to is the actual big city. You go to Britain, what's the first place you visit? London. Correct. You go to Italy, it's Rome. And since Paris. So with Australia, it's Sydney. And I know one of the things, and I mean, for me, that's where I first went to. Right. And honestly, if I had a month, I actually would start off in Sydney, only because, like I said, I didn't get to do the beaches. And the one thing I wish I did, and I was tempted to, but I don't even remember why I didn't get a chance to do this, was to climb the Sydney Bridge Harbor. And I think because I like that adventure, the thrill of adventure, for some reason, like, I think a lot of it has to do is as a kid, I fell off a slide, like 1 foot down and hit my head. And I think that experience, I've always been fearless. And that's one thing I actually want to do on my bucket list, is to climb that bridge. And one of those things that are high. So I would actually start there, and then I would actually even travel into Melbourne. And I would actually do this during an Aussie summer, which is Aussie summer is around December, from December to February. And and I would, actually Sydney, because I also want to experience the New Year's. Correct. In Sydney, because that's actually an unforgotten. Yeah,
it's in a place called there's a name for that. It's called where is that? It's in my notes here. The Blue Mountains. There is the Broken Hill. There's the lighthouse, Cape Biner Lighthouse. That's where you go to if you want to experience the New Year. You should go to the lighthouse, because that's the 1201, right? The New Year starts in that lighthouse. So
see, I would start there and then travel. I guess I would go to the bottom, because through Melbourne. Because I always wanted to do this is outside of Melbourne. There's the 12 Apostles. Take that to Kangaroo Island by South Australia. I don't know if I what's really out there in Western Australia, but maybe I would consider what you whatever you do, I'll probably do. And actually, my uncle, was was a
Darwin.
school teacher in Darwin. Well, this is
Oh wow.
actually before he retired. He taught elementary school in Darwin, and Aboriginal. His students were Aboriginal
Oh
students. I
wow.
always wanted to get in. That's also one of the fascinating things about the Australian culture. I actually want to know more about the Aboriginal culture with the
That's cool. That's
boomerang
cool.
and the those are the actual natives of Australia, and else it would.
Yeah, it's like the Aboriginals of Australia. It's like our version of Native Americans in the U.S. And then in the Philippines, it's the Ayatas. It's like the Negritos. These are the Aborigines of the Philippines. The Ayatas or the Negritos.
That's great. Yeah, that's also what's good about travel too, is also learning about the culture of the native people, and then you can't forget
Correct.
also um, what's popular is Queensland, Brisbane, Gold Coast. What is Great
Right.
Barrier?
That's good.
That's where
Correct. Great
Nemo
Barrier
was.
Reef.
That's where I found Nemo.
Oh.
And one of the, I don't swim, but one of those things that's what's one thing on my bucket list. I love animals. I love learning about fish and any sea life, and that's probably one place on my. I would probably end there. And can't forget about Tasmania and locating a real Tasmanian devil. Thanks to Looney Tunes.
I know.
So one thing about Australia, we talked about, Sydney, the culture. Is there anything? What do you know? What would you prefer, travelers? When is the best time to go? You're going in September, which is the peak of
Right.
transitioning from winter to spring. But what would
Right.
you tell travelers when's the best time to travel to the land down
I'm gonna
under?
say during this time, September. Why? Because it's the spring. Um, I don't like when you travel to Australia during summer, it should be so hot. It's like going to Arizona. It's like going to Phoenix. It's gonna be so hot. I don't like cold. I don't like super hot. So I want to travel like during like fall or maybe spring. That's me.
That's recommended. And
Correct.
what, as a travel advisor specializing this, what would you offer? What kinds of experiences? Let's go back to the kinds of experiences that you want to do. Like what, or as a travel advisor, what kinds of experience would you want to sell to your clients? What would be the best itinerary from uh, what you would have to offer
Uh-huh.
your clients?
I like walking. I like hiking. So that's what I like offering to my customers. I like experiencing, I like, seeing in nature. I like seeing animals. I like, I just like the physical activities. Um, Probably I would also do some, wine tasting because Australia, they have a lot of wineries, maybe 100 of them in Australia. I think in Western Australia in Margaret River, they have like 18 wine companies there. So I would probably do that too. Um, and also the opera house. I think it's very original. We don't have the same. We don't even have. There's no place that's so close to the opera house. So I would offer that to my customers.
Last question. What's next on your bucket list after Australia? Or maybe if you still want to venture more on other than Sydney. What is next on your ultimate bucket list aside after probably this trip that you're going to take?
I'm gonna probably, since I'm in Australia and I visit my family in the Philippines. My next trip would be most likely in New Zealand.
Mhm. And
Yes, because they have a nice nice weather, and it's a small country. You can probably visit the country for maybe 2 weeks. And yeah, they're very good in education too. They have a lot of good spots. It's just a yeah. Since I'm in the area already, so I'm gonna venture on New Zealand after mastering Australia.
and it's a long flight to get to Australia from the United States too.
I
You want
know
to
it's
share with us
14 hours.
what's the best how or where should travelers travel to go to, say, Sydney or Brisbane or Melbourne? Should they travel from, like, actually, you're traveling from the Philippines, which is
Correct.
7 hours.
Correct.
People should actually do because, but
Yes.
actuality, how long is the flight to say, where you're originally from us, we're East Coasters. Let's tell our viewers.
Right. I'm gonna say maybe 14 hours. I'll be flying from Baltimore, BWI, to Sydney would be like 14 hours.
Mhm.
14 hours. It's a
Yeah.
lot of it's a lot of traveling because but that's if you want to travel close, you should go to, the Caribbean, Puerto Rico, Mexico. But you're going to another part of the country, another part of the world. So you have to allot, you know, hours of travel because it's a different country. It's a different topography. It's a different setting. So it's like you're going to Arizona because of the Uluru, but it's older and it's different. So
Well, in anything, wherever you travel, it may take a long time to get to Australia, but anywhere you travel, once you step down, it's always going to be it's always going to be worthwhile. So
correct. Mhm.
thank you, Louis. It was great talking to you about all things
Anytime.
Australia, and we'll talk more about it probably when you get back, and we'll talk more about your other ventures. We will want to talk about New Zealand. I'll pencil that in, talking about a country that I've never been to, and I like Kiwis and the Maori culture, and with New Zealand, the South Island,
Right.
Lord of the Rings. That's where
Right. Correct. Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. So I'll have you on when we talk about when I do an episode based on New Zealand, or maybe another episode another Australia centric episode.
Yes.
So thank you, Louis, for coming on. It was a great pleasure
Anytime.
talking with you.
Thank
And thank
you.
you to all our viewers, because without your support, this would, it would be impossible to discuss about all things about travel. And as travel is coming back, making a comeback, don't let anything stop you from passionately seeing the world and what it has to offer. Smart People Travel Wise airs every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Pacific. I'm Tennie Sumague. Catch you all next time.